Tuesday, April 7th, 2007 to order. I do a physical roll call. We got Councilman Fields.
Yeah.
Council Lady Willis. Yeah. We have Councilman Brewer.
Yeah.
Council Lady Miles.
Yeah.
Council Lady Ville. You can unmute them now. Oh. Council Lady. Neville.
Yes.
Are you here?
Hey.
Are you here?
You have an echo.
It's loud.
That's a nice mask.
And Vice Mayor Nickerson.
I'm here. So, Derek, I think that because there are others next to you that are zoomed in also with their microphones, that's where the feedback is coming from.
No, it's coming from my TV in here. When I talk. Can y'all hear me if I just talk in here?
I can't hear.
You can't hear me now. So only when I'm unmuted you can hear me.
Derek, your mic is off. On my screen, it looks like the mic is off.
So when I turn my mic on, that's when you get your echo. When I turn my Zoom mic on. So they can't. You gonna turn this one down? So they can't hear us in here. Okay. So the only other way for you to hear everybody else who's not on Zoom is through your computer, through the live feed on YouTube or the live feed on TV. Yeah, is it good on the echo? Give me a thumbs up. Is there still echo?
No, I don't hear it.
Okay, it's better. All right. I see the thumbs up.
Okay, so I'm sorry. Did you say that I have to also open up YouTube in order to hear the other council members?
Yes, who's not on Zoom currently. Unless they pull up Zoom on their phones and talking to there.
Okay, I hope we can figure out a way to make that a little better for the next meeting.
Well, next
It should
meeting
not
will all
be
be
a
on
problem.
Zoom.
Next meeting, everybody should be on Zoom.
Okay.
All right. So the roll call. Everybody was present, either physically or electronically. All right, we'll have a moment of silent prayer and pledge allegiance. Moment of silent prayer. All right, please rise to the pledge.
It's kind of weird.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We're just getting to the back because it's a 1-minute delay. I'll be the 1 second. All right, next on the agenda is the adoption of the agenda. And I just want to make a note that the purpose of this, me and Council Lady Willis was talking earlier, the purpose of this meeting is really to just get this emergency ordinance passed, to set the public hearing dates and to kind of go through these quick appointments in the absence of any type of ability to do virtual meetings. We just had to meet to pass a way so we can have virtual meetings and meet. So we can have an adoption of the agenda. Councilman Brewer. Oh, Councilman.
I move to adopt the agenda.
Okay. It's been moved. Is there a second? All right. It's been moved. It's been second. All in favor? We're going to do so. I guess by show of hands. Say aye. Okay. All who oppose, do so with a show of hands. Okay. One. So motion carries 6-1 to adopt the agenda. All right, action items. First action item is to discuss the emergency ordinance to establish a continuing of government plan. All right, town manager.
Thank you, Mayor. So this emergency ordinance affirms the local declared emergency. It also recognizes the governor's executive orders regarding emergency and any instructions related to the COVID-19 emergency. The details that are included describe that the council will participate in virtual meetings as it has been deemed per state code to be unsafe for us to continue to meet and have a quorum physically. So this ordinance would allow us to continue to have meetings virtually. It would also cover our local boards and commissions as well. So we are looking for a motion to approve this item.
All right, so I'm going to read this ordinance. It says, whereas on March 12, 2020, the governor of the Commonwealth of Virginia, in Executive Order number 51, declared a state of emergency and disaster within the Commonwealth of Virginia pursuant to Section 44-146-16 of the Code of Virginia due to COVID-19 global health pandemic. And whereas March 17, 2020, the Director of Emergency Management declared a local emergency, which is hereby affirmed by the Town Council. And whereas the impacts of public health, local economy, and the operation of the town government are likely to be protracted for several months, and whereas there are actions which must be taken by the town in the next several months, which by law require the action of the town council, and whereas it is currently impractical, unsafe, and potentially life-threatening for a quorum of the governing body to be physically assembled in one location, and whereas Section 3.08 of the Town Charter provides in pertinent part that the Town Council has the authority to adopt emergency measures to meet public emergency affecting life, health, property of the public peace. And whereas Section 15.2-1413 of the Code of Virginia provides that notwithstanding any contrary provisions of law, general or special, any locality may by ordinance provide a method to assure continuity of its government in the event of any enemy attack or other disaster. And whereas Section 2.2-3708.2 of the Code of Virginia provides for electronic meetings in the event of an emergency. And whereas given the likely duration of the current COVID-19 emergency, meetings of the Town Council and other boards and commissions must be held in the interim for the continuity and continuing operation of the function of the town government, included but not limited to the adoption of the town's budget, and whereas given the severe limitations of the gathering of people during the COVID-19 pandemic, the Town Council finds it necessary and prudent to provide by ordinance a method of transacting necessary public business during the disaster without the physical attendance of gathering of people for the duration of COVID-19 disaster. Now, therefore, be it ordained, pursuant to Section 3.08 of the Town Charter and Sections 15.2, 1413, and 2.2-3708.2 of the Code of Virginia, that the Town Council for the Town of Dumfries hereby adopts the following emergency procedures. 1. The Dumfries Town Council shall meet electronically until such time as it is safe for the public to physically attend meetings and the town's public buildings are reopened, as evidenced by a declaration of the Governor of Virginia that the emergency in the Commonwealth of Virginia has ended. A quorum of Town Council for members must participate in the electronic meeting in order to conduct business. Meetings shall be conducted in an electronic format, which allows and enables citizens to both observe and participate electronically. Due to the closure of public buildings, meeting notices and agendas shall be posted on the town website only. All other meeting requirements of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act shall be met. Instructions regarding how citizens may observe and participate in meetings shall be maintained on the town's website. 2. The town's planning commission, architectural review board, and board of zoning appeals may meet electronically as necessary pursuant to the requirements of Section 1. A quorum must participate in the electronic meetings to conduct business. 3, public hearings may be conducted electronically, provided the meeting meets the requirements of Section 1. Public hearing notice shall be published in a newspaper with general local circulation as required by the Code of Virginia, and information regarding electronic participation shall be provided in that notice. And 4, any other public meeting which is required pursuant to law, including but not limited to the Virginia Public Procurement Act or any other law of the Commonwealth of Virginia or the Code of the Town of Dufferin, shall be held electronically, and meeting participants shall be provided direction on how to participate in the meeting prior to the start of the meeting. The provisions of this order shall expire upon declaration by the Governor of Virginia that the emergency in the Commonwealth is ended, or on September 7th, 2020, whichever is earlier. My order to council. All right. Any questions? Let me see if I see any hands. Councilman Brewer. And I'll repeat what he says so you all can hear here too.
Under number 1, it says Dumfries Town Council shall meet electronically. That should be changed to will have the ability, not shall. So if we want to meet like this, again, we have the option. With this here, it takes away the option.
So Councilman Brewer wants to keep the option open. He doesn't want to say shall meet electronically. What's the word?
What's the word? Ability.
Has the ability to meet electronically. He wants to leave the option open to continue the meeting. Okay, Vice Mayor.
So what does the mandate state? Are we mandated that we are not supposed to gather? We should hold these meetings electronically, or has it been presented to us as an option?
So currently, as we're stating, all public buildings are closed for public participation, and we're talking now. If we want to, in the safety of public health, do we want to try to meet in here on a safe environment? And keep 6 feet apart, or do we want to conduct our meetings electronically? Currently, we have it's saying we shall meet electronically. He's proposing that we say we have the ability to meet electronically, but if we want to have people come in, he wants to still have the ability to come in.
It sounds to me as though maybe Councilman Brewer wants to come in, and if he does, then that means other staff will have to come in also. So by him exercising the option to come in forces staff to come in as well. And is that okay? Or should we be meeting electronically and therefore no staff need to be in the building?
I recognize Sharon Pandeck. I see you want to say something.
I think the issue that's posed by the Vice Mayor is a policy issue that you all have to decide. As a matter of law, you are not required to meet electronically, but you can choose by virtue of this law to proceed in that way and meet electronically. But the issue the Vice Mayor poses is a policy one you need to decide.
But we still have the option.
So we have the option. So the motion he's asking for to amend this to say has the ability and leave the option, and it's up to us by vote to decide which direction we want to move. If you want to allow the staff to come through with this ordinance or not. Council Lady Willis.
I don't think it's taking away from anything because we have an option to decide which way we want to go. That's my thought.
All right. So she said that there are options. She just keeping the options open.
What the point is, if Councilman Brewer exercises his option to be in the office, he removes the option of staff to not be able to be in the office, because if he's there, then staff has to be there as well. That's the point that I'm making. So in fact, if he decides he wants to come in, then he is essentially removing the option for maybe the town manager to choose not to be there, because someone has to be there also in order to set things up and run things. That's the point that I'm making.
Okay. Council Lady Mouse.
So does the governor's mandate, does that give us the option to exclude public comment from our meetings, or how do we incorporate public comment? Yes, I mean.
That's for us. So according to this ordinance that we're writing, we're still giving the public the ability to comment via date. We have to give them an option to participate. But we'll come on in this software as panelists, and the public will come in as participants, and we'll be able to see them with their comments. Council Lady Willis.
Well, if we give ourselves the option, just because Councilman Brewer wants to come in, we as a council make that decision. So we're not taking away from anything. We're just either or. And it's our decision which is what we want to do.
Okay. Council Lady Mouse.
No.
Okay.
Mr.
Councilman
Mayor,
Brewer.
I think.
Okay. Sharon.
yes, Mr. Mayor, I don't want to confuse things too much, but I think if you're going to decide, let's say that your next meeting is going to be completely electronic, you should make that decision in advance of the meeting so that the proper notices can be given on the website and otherwise by town staff. That's if you decide that you want to go meeting by meeting as to whether or not they will be completely virtual, then you will make that decision meeting by meeting. I think that's separate to the issue as to where a particular council person will be during the meeting. The decision will be made by the council if you take this as one meeting at a time as opposed to a blanket, is separate from where a particular council person wants to be and whether you can facilitate that.
Councilwoman DeVille.
Thank you, Mayor. We are in a state of emergency. It's a pandemic going on. You all are at risk being there right now, and I appreciate you being there because we needed 4 people present physically to hold this meeting. So those things considered, I suggest we stick with the original language and with what Ms. Pandak just told us until, Executive Order 55, which goes through a particular date in June, is lifted. All of our meetings need to be virtual for everyone's safety, our own safety, safety of staff. We have our tech contractors coming in to make this meeting possible. It's a pandemic. We've got to change and we've got to protect our safety. So I think that all of our meetings, while we're on a stay-at-home order, so everyone can try to be safe and flatten this curve, they need to be virtual. And I'm willing to put that in the form of a motion once you get this through. Thank you.
Okay. Councilman Brewer.
Oh, she made a motion. You gotta get a second.
Okay. So you're making a motion on the ordinance as written?
Mr. Mayor, I don't want to interject too much, but I think if you could state who has made the motion in the second, and then if you could do roll call votes, that would be appropriate.
So I'm just confirming with Council Lady DeVille. Are you making a motion?
I'd like to make a motion that we stick with the ordinance as stated and continue with virtual meetings throughout the duration of the stay-at-home order per the governor.
All right, so the motion is to adopt an emergency ordinance as written to establish an emergency procedure for the continuity and operation of the government throughout the duration of the COVID-19 pandemic. Is that your motion?
That's my motion.
All right.
You could add for the governor's stay-at-home order, Executive Order 55.
Yeah, that's written in there.
Yep, okay.
Yeah, it's in the front. All right, so it's been properly motioned. Is there a second?
I have a friendly amendment. In the final line, line 3, where it says public hearings may be conducted electronically, I would like to say public hearings and citizen comments shall be conducted electronically. In the final paragraph.
said the final paragraph, number three.
Yeah.
Public hearings may be conducted electronically.
Instead of saying public hearings, maybe.
Oh, say shall be.
Public
So
hearings
take
and
the word.
citizens' comments.
Okay. So
I
instead of,
accept that friendly amendment to the motion.
Thank you.
all right, so is there a second to the motion?
A second.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so who made the second?
I did. Vice
Okay,
Mayor.
Vice Mayor. All right, so we had to do a roll call to see who's still here. Councilman Fields? Council Lady Willis?
Hold on, you haven't had discussion.
I know, but we're just gonna get a roll call.
Why would you do a roll call?
You want some more discussion? Very, okay. Is there a discussion on the motion? Councilman Brewer.
The reason I made the statement that we should leave our options open is because if we have to go into closed session, we cannot do that electronically. We have to be in person. So if there's a closed session item that has to be discussed, we have to gather for that closed session.
All right, so Councilman Brewer is saying his reason for making it the option is that we have to go into a closed session, that he wants to have that ability. Sharon, I see you.
If I might,
Please.
Mr. Mayor, I leave it to Keith and your IT staff to figure out how to do this. But in fact, you can hold a closed meeting. You will simply exclude the other people that are on the Zoom. I have actually participated in one of those closed meetings with another client, and it would just be the council in the closed meeting. You might want to figure out where you're going to handle and hold that closed meeting on the agenda so that you don't keep the public, for example, waiting a long period of time in the middle of the meeting, if that's where your closed meeting is going to be. You want to be cognizant of that, but I believe that is possible to do electronically, and I'll be glad to pass along the information I had to Mr. Rogers if the IT staff can't manage that.
Thank you. Vice Mayor?
I have two questions. There is a David Rose says, is that Brendan?
No, it's for the presentation on the refi.
Okay.
Davenport.
Okay, and so is Brendan there? Who else is on panel? I'd like to know who's on the other side, who's on the dais, please. Is the attorney there?
Yeah, he's sitting down in the audience, not on the thing.
Oh, okay, thank you.
So I do roll call again in a second.
Oh, I didn't hear the attorney when you did roll call the first time. Thank you.
All right, so the motion on the floor is to establish an emergency ordinance or continuing government plan. Motion by Councilwoman Neville, second by Vice Mayor Nickerson. Seeing no further discussion, we'll take a roll. Councilman Brewer? No. We're taking a roll first, right? That's the proper way so everybody knows who's here before we take a vote. We have to do a roll call before every vote for these electronic.
Oh, okay.
Is that right, Ms. Panday?
No, I'm sorry, I was unclear. You need to make the vote by roll call. You don't need to take a roll call and then make the vote. Did you understand me? You will take roll call votes. You don't need to do a roll call in addition to the vote.
Okay.
So instead of hand votes, you will use a roll call vote.
Okay, just use your voice. Got it. So all in favor of so I'm gonna repeat the motion on the floor. The motion on the floor is to adopt an emergency ordinance to establish a continuing government plan with the changes of the word public hearings may be conducted to shall be, and public hearings shall be published in the newspaper. All right. So that, and it's been motioned by Council Lady Neville, second by the Vice Mayor. Are all in favor? Do so with a verbal yes. Yes.
Yes, but I think we have to call names. I think what she was saying, you gotta, like Council Lady Neville. Yes. That's what I think Ms.
That
Pandemic.
is correct. That's what.
Okay, that's what I was saying. All right. So we'll go back to doing it the way we. Councilman Brewer.
No.
Councilor Lady Miles.
Yes.
Councilor Lady Willis.
Yes.
Councilman Fields. Councilor Lady DeVille.
Yes.
Vice Mayor. I can't hear you. Vice Mayor Nickerson.
I'm sorry, yes.
All right. Mayor Wood. Yes. All right. The motion carries 6-1. It passes. The emergency ordinance to conduct electronic meetings passes. All right. Next on the agenda is a resolution appointing Lawrence Nickerson to the Planning Commission. Mr. Keith Rogers.
Thank you, Mayor. The two items that are before you are on the agenda tonight, even in these emergency times, as it is important that we are able to have members on our board so that we can maintain a quorum. The ordinance that was just adopted, as you all saw, would allow the boards and commissions to meet electronically as well. So the first item that is before you is to appoint Mr. Lawrence Nickerson to the Planning Commission. We have received his application and staff has reviewed it. And so we are recommending that council approve this appointment.
Mr. Rogers, how many people do we currently have on the Planning Commission?
I believe we currently have 6 members on the Planning Commission.
Okay. And we lost the West is officially gone?
We have received a resignation letter.
Okay. All right. Is there,
I have a question.
yes. You have a question? Councilor Lady Miles.
So just for clarification, when I was reading the email, I know that the Wests share an email address. It appeared that Nancy West resigned, but Gary West did not. So for clarification, did we receive a separate resignation for Gary West?
I will double check, but that resignation notwithstanding, we have available seats on the Planning Commission. But I will follow up and make sure that I get clarity to council on the actual resignation.
Thank you.
All right, so the resolution to appoint Lawrence Nickerson to the Planning Commission reads, whereas the Dumfries Town Council is the governing body responsible for appointing members to the Planning Commission, whereas the Town Council received the application from Lawrence Nickerson to serve on the Planning Commission, and whereas staff recommends Town Council appoint Lawrence Nickerson to serve a term that expires June 30th, 2023, now for be it resolved that the Town Council for the Town of Dumfries hereby appoints Lawrence Nickerson to serve on the Planning Commission. All right, so we welcome a motion. Councilor.
Move we appoint Lawrence Nickerson to the Planning Commission.
All right, so it's been motioned by Councilwoman Miles and second by Councilmember Fields. All right, any further discussion? All right. Seeing none. Councilman Fields. How do you vote? Councilor Lady Willis. All right. Councilwoman DeVille.
Yes.
Councilwoman Miles.
Yes.
Councilman Brewer.
Yeah.
Vice Mayor Nickerson.
Yes.
All right. Councilman Wood. Mayor Wood. All right. Motion. Yes. Motion carries 7-0.
Mayor, can I bring up a subject here? When we went to the adoption of the agenda, a motion was made immediately, and you did not have a discussion on it. Can we go back to that?
No, I think we done moved past it.
I know you moved past it, but you didn't ask for a discussion. You asked for a motion, you got the motion, then you went ahead and took the vote. You didn't ask for discussion in that.
Is it appropriate to go back? Sharon?
If there's a motion to reconsider, I suppose you could go back to it. Yes, there need a motion to reconsider if it's to change action already taken.
Yeah. And you were the only one that voted one. So somebody wants to reconsider to have a discussion on the adoption of the agenda.
I also should note that a reconsideration has to be up on the prevailing side.
Yeah. So what was said, for those of you who didn't hear, Councilman Brewer wanted to go back to the adoption of the agenda because he didn't get a chance to have a discussion on that vote. I call for the question without discussion.
If you need a motion for reconsideration, I can do that because I voted for it.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can.
I make a motion. Okay. Lord, I make a motion for reconsideration of the adoption of the agenda.
Okay. So it's been motioned to reconsider the motion for the adoption of the agenda.
Exactly.
Okay. But Councilor Willis. All right. So there's a motion. Is there a section of the motion? All right. So Councilor Miles, she seconded the motion. All right. Any discussion on the motion to reconsider? Okay. Councilor DeVille.
Question, I posted in the chat, but I did not hear what was said and by whom. I don't know how we got to this part. I could not hear.
I thought I repeated. I'm sorry. What was said was Councilman Brewer said he didn't get a chance to discuss the motion to adopt the agenda. So there was no discussion. There was a motion made, and we took a vote to adopt the agenda without a discussion. So now we're here to a motion to reconsider. Motion by Councilor Lady Willis, second by Councilor Lady Miles. Now we're in the discussion phase to vote for a motion to reconsider the agenda that we adopted.
That we've already started. Okay.
All right. Yeah. So is there any further discussion on the motion to reconsider? All right. So seeing no more discussion, we'll call for the question on the motion to reconsider. All right, Councilwoman DeVille. So the motion on the floor is to reconsider the adoption of the agenda.
No.
Okay, no. Councilman Fields. You say yes? Yes. Okay, Councilwoman Willis is a yes. Councilman Brewer?
Yes.
Okay. Councilwoman Miles? Vice Mayor Nickerson?
I'm not clear why we are reconsidering it. Is there, were we supposed to be told why we're even reconsidering the agenda? What about the agenda?
So we're past discussion, now we're voting.
No.
Okay. All right. And I'm gonna know motion carries 4-3. So we're gonna go back to reconsidering the motion to adopt the agenda. All right. So we're on the agenda. Are we gonna re-adopt the agenda? Councilman Brewer.
The reason that I'd asked for the discussion on this is that coming up, we have a presentation for the fiscal year 2021 budget. Then after that, we have an ordinance to appropriate the funds. Then we have an ordinance to adopt the fee schedule. Then we have a resolution for the CIP. This budget, after numerous times that we have asked the town manager for this budget to be placed in the same format as the 2019 budget, is because on the 2019 budget, and I can show all of you. Well, if you were here, I could show you. The 2019 budget is showing every line item that we have. As a matter of fact, budgets from the 14, 15, 16, and 17 budgets are done just the same as the 18 and the 19. This budget here for the 21 is incomplete. And we've asked this 12 different times for the format of the 19 budget, and it is yet to be delivered to the town council. That's one thing I wanted to bring up is that we strike we strike under presentation because it's not like we had asked originally. 12 different times. We strike A under introduction, B under introduction, and C under introduction because we're not ready to be adopting fee schedules, not ready to be appropriating funds, and we're certainly not ready for the CIP. I want to see the exact numbers for this that has not been provided. So this budget here is totally incomplete for this council. Another thing that I wanted to bring up was that we need to go into closed session tonight under personnel. And I'm going to make a motion just for that. So we would strike presentation because it's not in the format which we've asked several times. Strike A under introduction, ordinance to appropriate funds. Why would we be appropriating funds if it's not in the format and we're not seeing the numbers that we're supposed to be seeing? Strike D, ordinance to adopt a fee schedule. Why would we adopt a fee schedule when we've got an incomplete budget? And then C, resolution to adopt. Why would we be adopting a CIP when we don't even have a CIP with it, which is what the council voted on, having it every budget presentation back in 2019, and that hasn't been provided. These items here need to be struck until these items, like we've asked for several times, that are brought up in the same format to the council 12 different times that we get to get. This budget for 2021 is not in that format. I put that in form of a motion.
I just want to address we're not adopting to appropriate funds tonight. We're setting public hearing dates. We're not adopting the fee schedule tonight. We're setting public hearing dates. We're not adopting a capital improvement plan tonight. You have to set dates and give the public opportunity feedback. So that's one. And the budget has to be presented according to the ordinance by April 1st. So it's a budget presentation that's going to be given tonight so that
the budget was not presented to the council in the format in which Councilman Willis had asked twice before this budget discussion even started. We can't sit here and post a public hearing date when we haven't had the first discussion about the budget. And the reason we shouldn't have a discussion about the budget is because it's not in the format of the 2019 budget, which we asked for 12 different times in public, 2 different times electronic. And I know that it was asked for 2 times by Council Lady Willis. It was asked several times by me. So I don't understand what the problem is here, that it cannot be presented to the town council in the budget form in which we asked. I don't want to see lump sum monies. I want to see individual departments, individual monies where it's going out to salaries. I want to see the taxes. I want to see the benefits. I want to see everything. We can't be hiding money. It's got to be public. I can't tell you by looking at the budget where we got money, where it's being spent for. Another thing I want to know is how much money do we have in our reserves? So I don't think it would be right for this council to sit here and see a presentation on a budget that is not what the council has asked for several times and brought in front of the town manager in a vote taken by the council to be presented in the 19 format. That has yet to be delivered.
Councilor Miles, yes.
Okay, so I don't agree with striking. These are introduction items. So I would like to hear the town manager presentation so that we can go back and forth on that. And we can work to getting it in a format that works for all of us. I hear what you're saying. Is your motion to strike this and then go into closed session, or is your motion for us to go into closed session so that we can have that and move on? What exactly at this point? What's your motion? Is what I'm asking.
We're at the adoption of the agenda.
My motion is remove these items because the council has not been provided the documents that it's asked for. Number one. Number two, to go into closed session.
Would you be willing to separate the two? Or are you lumping them all in together?
Put them all in there. The reason being is because, like I said, there's copies. As a matter of fact, you can probably get it online. There's a copy of the 2019 budget and the format in which it's been presented. There's general fund revenues under expenditures. Let's just go to, let's go to the police department well.
Okay, so
I'm
the
not
thing
gonna
is,
take up-
I'm happy to talk about that, but why can't we talk about that under that agenda item?
Well, they're not presented in that format.
Okay, so why don't we have
You've
that
got money
discussion?
lumped together.
All right, so he can make the motion. If that's the motion you want to make. All right.
Okay.
All right. Any other discussion? Okay, Council Lady Willis.
I just want to make a statement that I've also been the one that's asked for the budget to be presented to the council in the 2019 format, of which we've yet to see. The 2020 format was not within the 2019 guidelines, where everything is broken out, where things are not lumped together. And one of the things that I have an issue with is not being able to go through this budget line by line and make a decision. Do we have enough money in this? Do we not? Do we need to move monies around? Because the council can do that. And one of the things you cannot see from the format that we have before us, given to us by the town manager, again, same format as 2020, where we can see all the departments, all their expenditures, something they, everything they need for 2021. And I'm really getting tired of asking for something again and again and again. And as far as I'm concerned, this particular budget that we're trying to go through, which we can't, is unacceptable. And I absolutely will not vote for the budget in the format that it's in, because there is no clarity in it. You cannot follow it. There's absolutely no way to see anything from a lump sum numbers. And I have no idea why we cannot get what we're asking for from the town manager, who works at the pleasure of the council.
Council Lady Nivelle.
Thank you, Mayor. I will say I had the town manager has meetings. He opens his office up to have meetings with all of us quite regularly, and he's reached out several times to address our questions about the budget. And initially, I did have a few questions, but he has sent us copies in different formats and analyzed and broke down information 3 times the last time I combed through the email. And he has sent enough information that satisfies my questions about the budget. I think he has done a great job as far as providing that service to the council to make sure our questions were addressed. So I hope everyone took advantage of that opportunity to speak with him regarding their questions. But I feel like right now the budget, everything is kind of being stocked up before we can even let him explain it to us in this meeting and to citizens as well. I just wanted to say that because it sounded like some things are going on that really are not going on. He's done his, dare I say, due diligence with this budget and has sent us not one, not two, but 3 versions of the budget, spelling out everything. I even went back to FY17 budget to look at that and compare it. There are columns, but I'm going to digress because no one can share and analyze the budget that the town manager has created and discussed with all of us who took opportunity of the time to meet with him and get our questions answered better than our town manager can. So that stated, I believe Councilman Brewer put a motion on the floor. I'd like for that motion to be voted on if we can move forward here.
You're calling for the question. We didn't give everybody opportunity. Just want to make sure Councilman Brewer and the Vice Mayor didn't have any comments. Vice Mayor has some comments. We have to give everybody the opportunity to have discussion before you call for the question. Vice Mayor.
So am I muted? Okay, so 2 things. Most importantly, I think that we have to be very careful with the picture that we are painting, especially to our public. It is inappropriate, because that's the word that was used with regard to the budget response, but it's inappropriate to say things like money is being hidden, because when you make comments like that, you are defaming the entire council, because yes, we are all responsible for this budget, and majority of the council has asked for and seen what satisfies those requests. On Sunday at 8:05 p.m., an email was sent out with the FY21 budget in FY19 format, and every line item is not only broken out, but an explanation is provided, and this is for the revenues and the expenditures. So my 2 requests are, 1, that we move forward from this, because I am satisfied too with the information that has been provided by the town manager. I am satisfied with the depth of the budget that has been provided, and I'm happy that we can go line by line, and I don't have anything against that. But what we have to do is we have to stop making claims, erroneous claims, such as money is being hidden and that the town manager is not doing what was requested. Because based on the questions that I've heard asked of him, I've seen those answers. If you are not satisfied with the answer that was given to you, then by all means, you can be displeased with that. But to paint a picture that the work is not being done or that the questions are not being answered is absolutely erroneous. Thank you.
Councilman Fields, did you have anything to say? There's a question that's been called for. I'm satisfied with moving forward with the agenda as presented and going through the agenda. So, I'm not willing to make any changes to the agenda myself. I will move forward with having it. I've seen the document that came out Sunday at 8:05 that had all the details, and as well as the previous 2 versions. Change is always difficult for people. Nobody likes change because change is uncomfortable, but sometimes change is necessary to do things. And first time we were actually awarded for the work that we done on our budget. So, with your call for the question, the motion on the floor is to remove items A, the fiscal year 2021 budget presentation, to remove the introductory or items A, B, and C, ordinance to appropriate funds and to schedule the public hearings, ordinance to adopt the fee schedule, B, and to schedule the public hearings for date April 21st, and C, the resolution to adopt the fiscal 21-25, schedule that public hearing as well for April 21st. It's been motioned by Councilman Brewer. Who made the second?
I'll make the second.
Okay, and the second, Council Lady Willis. All right, so it's
So
been,
is this discussion over with?
yeah, she called for the question, and everybody had the opportunity to talk. We give everybody opportunity to speak on it. What the question has been called for, so we're going to take the vote. Yeah. Councilman Fields? Yeah, we're voting on if we're going to remove those items or we're going to move forward. A yes vote removes those items, a no vote, we move forward. No? Council Lady Willis?
Yes.
Okay. Councilman Brewer?
I'm going to vote. Remove these items. The reason I'm voting that way is because I'm tired of getting phone calls from the U.S. Department of Justice about budget items here that have been discussed by this council and on an incomplete budget. Why this wasn't done? Where did these funds go? Until these items are shown up on a 19 budget, the same format, you cannot tell anything. I don't care if he submitted it 30 times.
All
It
right.
was in the same format, so
So your vote is yes or no?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so yes vote. Council Lady Miles?
No.
Okay. Council Lady Neville?
No.
Vice Mayor? Vice Mayor?
I'm sorry, I keep muting myself. No.
Okay. And it's a no for me, so the motion fails 2-5. All right, so Sharon, just a point of clarity here. So do we have to re-vote for the agenda or do we just pick back up where we left off?
No, the motion to reconsider failed. So,
Okay.
yes, your agenda's fine. You go forward.
Okay. All right, so next on the agenda is a resolution reappointing James Kozinak to the Architecture Review. So you said? Kazansnak to the Architecture Review Board, Town Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. So the resolution that is before council is for a reappointment to the Architectural Review Board. This reappointment would carry a term to June 30th, 2020. And so we're looking for a motion to approve from the council.
All right, so the resolution before you reads, whereas the town council is the governing body responsible for appointing members to the Architecture Review Board, and whereas the town has received a request to reappoint to the Architecture Review Board, where staff recommends town council reappoints James, how you say his last name again? Kazansnak to the survey term that shall expire on June 30th, 2022. Now therefore be it resolved that the town council does hereby reappoint him to serve on the Architecture Review Board. All right, is there any further discussion or motion? Councilman Brooke? You had your mic, you had your line.
To reappoint Mr. Kazaznak to the ARB.
It's been motioned by Councilwoman Miles, second by Fields. Any further discussion? Okay, seeing none, I'm gonna call for the question. There's a motion to reappoint to the Architecture Review Board, Mr. James
Kazansnak.
Zansnak. I get it a couple of times. All right. Councilman Brewer. Council Lady Miles.
Yeah.
Council Lady Willis.
Yes.
Councilman Fields. Council Lady Neville.
Yes.
Vice Mayor.
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Motion carries 7-0. Next on the agenda is a resolution to proceed with a bank refinance, a RFP for bond refunding. I'm sorry, not a bank, for RFP for bond refunding. Mr. Rogers.
Thank you, Mayor. I just simply want to say that we have good news, and I'm going to turn it over to Mr. David Rose from Davenport and Company to walk council through the step we are in this refunding process. Mr. Rose?
Thank you, Mr. Rogers. Members of the council, Mr. Mayor, appreciate it. Mr. Rogers, do they have in front of them by chance the presentation?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So again, as the manager indicated, we have good news. So I will not be very long in this presentation. If you would turn to page 1, with regard to just a little timeline, I was at your council meeting back in January, you may recall, and we introduced the potential refunding opportunity. I did that. And then at a subsequent meeting on February 18th, the council had decided to proceed forward and to see what possibly, if anything, would come of this request. So at the end of the month, on the 31st, we received proposals back. For negotiating purposes, I'd like to keep that limited to just the best proposal that we had. And indeed, here we are tonight with a proposal that was considerably better than the estimate that we had presented to you as an opportunity back in January. That said, also as a part of this meeting, is Mr. Dan Siegel, who is a partner at Sands Anderson, who is acting as the bond counsel, which coordinates with Ms. Pandak as the town counsel, different roles. But the point here is that there is a resolution in front of you should you decide to move forward, which would then effectively get the documents to be put together and would be formally approved on your April 21st meeting, which is the next meeting. And that would be the time at which you would really, in effect, solidify all of this. The good news here is that in this time frame, in this approach, if you were to close, you would need to honor before May 15th. That is the bank proposal. And I will just give you the essence of it on the next page, which is page 2. When I presented back in January, we had identified a refunding potential of slightly under $500,000 of debt service savings for the 20 years remaining. You may recall that we are not talking about extending the final maturity at all. That's what's left in the loan. And that equated to a little over 14% on a present value basis. Just to give you that sense, anything in Virginia or basically nationwide that is over 3% is considered a worthy and viable refinancing. I personally like to see that savings level higher than 3%, but 14% is obviously a multiple of that, very, very strong. The actual results, the best result we received, a fixed rate by Sterling National Bank, which is a national bank, for over $600,000, $640,000 to be precise, which is almost 20% present value savings. And that is over and above all the cost of issuance we estimated, which I think one of you all asked, and that is again the same, on track to be what we had talked about. So we are talking about, if you decide to move forward and to give Mr. Siegel and ourselves the ability to move towards actually solidifying the documentation that you would vote on the 21st, the council would actually see a savings of $640,000. The reason for that, simply put, is that your current interest rate that you're paying on is about 5.44%. That's the current rate on the loan. The new rate on the loan would be essentially 2.8% fixed for the entire remaining 20 years. So obviously, we feel very good about that. And that's why on page 3, we are recommending that we do this. We also would point out that the town, meaning yourselves, would have the ability, if you so choose, down the road to prepay this after 7 years without penalty. So you get that flexibility, but no requirement to prepay this for whatever reason, whether it's a cash flow issue, whether interest rates go further down, whether you want to prepay it faster because of cash flows. That is going to be a future council's decision. That's a good thing. That's a flexible thing. That's something you want. And again, we are not extending the loan. We're not changing the credit of the loan. We are simply taking advantage of the fact that Sterling Bank in particular likes the town of Dumfries and the way you operate and your finances, and they feel good about this. And they have, again, they have said that they have to do their subject to their credit approval. That typically takes about 3 or 4 days, if indeed you tell us and do by here a resolution that you would like to move forward with them. You certainly can always cancel that on the 21st. We don't see a reason why you would, but again, the bottom line here is that the thing that could derail this would be, again, that they don't approve you formally. We don't think that's going to happen because, again, that is a typical process that Sterling has. We are used to working with them. Mr. Seal and I and my colleagues have done numerous transactions with Sterling National Bank. So we are optimistic that this will work out. So finally, on page 4, you can see what the savings was estimated. That $490,000 that we estimated back in January was about around $23,000, $24,000 per year. The new actual savings is closer to a little over $30,000, $31,000 per year. So again, the far right-hand side, we are adding $150,000 of additional debt service savings to the overall strategy. I will tell you, being in this business for some 40 years, when you're saving 20% of the loan debt service, that is very, very significant. And I think hopefully doesn't need a lot of discussion. With that, I'm happy, Mr. Mayor, members of council, to try to answer any questions. We, again, as you know, are your financial advisor. We put it out for bids, and this is the best that we had. So we are very comfortable. I know Mr. Siegel has said he's not able to somehow dial in he's been muted for some reason. I think that's still the case, but we collectively would recommend this as a moving forward. Thank you.
So just one or two questions here from me. So there's a prepayment penalty if we pay it off prior to 7 years, but after 7 years, there's no prepayment penalty.
The answer actually is you're not able to prepay it prior to 7 years. That's called a lockout period, if you would. And that's why it's called a call provision. Typically, just so you know, Mayor, we typically oftentimes see 10-year call provisions. So this is actually more flexible for you at 7 years.
All right. And then the second part of my question is, we're just pre-qualified. We still got to go through a full qualifications to actually get this loan.
So what we typically will see is that with Sterling, we tell them, if your blessing, the resolution in front of you tonight is to move forward with them. They then go formally to the credit committee. Again, anything can happen in this very unusual environment. Obviously, I would be there had this been January, just extended into the spring. So who knows? But I believe that more than likely, they will move forward with this and approve your credit. And if they do, then we are set for the 21st.
Listen, you're absolutely right. This is one of the markets that's very flexible. I think my mortgage companies are even calling me, trying to offer me rates under 3%. So I'm excited to see what's happening. And yeah, this is pretty much a no-brainer. Any other discussion on this? Anybody have any other discussion? Okay, Councilman Brewer.
And what are we being charged by Davenport and Company for doing?
Yes,
So
sir.
the question is, what are we being charged?
I will give the same answer that we gave back in January. I said, I believe that number was in and around a $75,000 cost of issuance, and that doesn't change. That was the same as it was then as now. You may recall, Mayor, we talked about that. You had asked that, I think, believe, if I'm not mistaken, and I answered that for the record.
That's on the savings, and you doubled our savings to
So the savings,
$30,000 a year.
yes, sir. That's in other words,
That's a 2-year, 3-year, let's say 3-year recoup of costs on this.
it's a little bit closer to 2 years. And then again, because this is a pretty complex structure, I'm not going to, we're giving you the essence of it, but between council and ourselves, this has a couple of steps to it. But again, there's been a number of things involved in this. And again, if for whatever reason Sterling says no, and we don't like the backup offers, we will not be compensated at all. That's the
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Anything, Councilman Brewer?
This question. And
I'm sorry, I did not hear. I apologize, Mr. Mayor.
The question is going to be for Sharon Pandak. Go ahead, what's the question? She's on.
Karen, does this, we still have to follow the Virginia procurement law as far as or
sorry,
doing business here with refinancing?
Sharon, I could.
Why don't you go ahead, David? I've not been involved in this at all, Councilman Brewer, so I don't know what work has been done in advance.
That's why I was going to jump in if I could, Mr. Mayor, and I know Sharon very well. She would know it. She wasn't involved at the time. We had to go through a procurement process subject to Virginia procurement laws, and that was done back, Keith, I was going to say probably 8-9 months ago. Don't hold me to it, but we went through the appropriate Virginia procurement process to be selected and brought on board.
Yes, sir. As always, as with all contracts. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Question is, who do we get pricing from?
What companies as well?
Do you have a list of what companies, Keith, that we got pricing from?
I can follow up on this procurement question, but again, like I said, I can absolutely certify that every contract that has been done since my tenure has been in adherence to Virginia public procurement.
He said he can resubmit the documents to you and send them again. It was under a prior council. Any other discussion? All right, so with this presentation today, this is an action item.
Action item.
Yeah, to resolution to proceed with the bank request for bond refunding. All right, so you're looking for a motion from the floor.
Yes, sir. Motion to approve.
All right, Councilman Fields has made a motion to proceed with the request for proposals for the bond refunding. Is there a second on the motion? All right, so it's a second. Council Lady Miles, discussion? All right. Any ladies had any discussion? All right, seeing no lights, seeing no discussion, call for the question. Council Lady DeVille.
Yes.
Okay. Councilman Fields. Yes. Councilwoman Willis.
No.
Okay. Council Lady Miles.
Yes.
Councilman Brewer.
Absolutely not.
Okay. Vice Mayor Nickerson.
Yes.
Yes. That's 5-2. Motion carries.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, sir. Next on the agenda is a resolution to appoint Brendan McConnell as our town attorney. There's a resolution to appoint Brendan McConnell as our town attorney. Section 403 of the town charter authorizes the town council to appoint an attorney qualified to practice law in the Commonwealth of Virginia to serve as the chief legal advisor to the council and town administration. Mr. Brendan McConnell represents that he is fully qualified to serve as the town attorney for the town of Dumfries, and after negotiating, the town and Mr. McConnell have agreed to the terms on an employment agreement with an effective employment date of March 9th, 2020. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the town council of the town of Dumfries does hereby appoint Brendan McConnell to serve as the town attorney for the town of Dumfries. Councilman Brewer just made a motion. Is there a second? All right. Second, Council Lady Willis. All right. So it's been motion is the second. Is there any further discussion? Councilman Brewer. Yeah, discussion on it? No. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Seeing no discussion. Councilman Brewer.
Yes.
Yes. Council Lady Willis.
Yes.
Council Lady Miles.
Yes.
Councilman Fields. Council Lady DeVille.
Yeah.
Okay. Vice Mayor Nickerson.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. Motion carries 7-0. All right. We're at 8:15. Council's requested a stretch break. So we'll take a 5-minute stretch break so as you can go. We'll come back at 8:20.
Hey, don't wake up yet. Almost ready. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Took you so long. Where's that puppy? Where'd that puppy go? Where'd he go?
All right. Hopefully everybody's back. Vice Mayor, Council Lady Neville. We're about 8:20. Hopefully you all are back. All right. Next on the agenda is fiscal year 2021, a budget presentation. Town Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Do we have the presentation queued up on the screen?
No.
No? Okay.
Oh, we're getting there.
Okay. Well, I'll go ahead and get started because I know there's hard copies on the dais for everyone. So first, I just want to take the time to say that it's truly my pleasure to present the proposed fiscal plan for fiscal year 21, as well as the 5-year capital improvement plan for 2021 through 2025. I would first like to thank all of the staff for their hard work in compiling all of the necessary information and for their bold and innovative thinking. I would also like to thank the community. Your feedback and input throughout the year was essential to creating this budget. And I especially want to thank the town council. I've appreciated all your engagement during this process, and I know that I spoke with many of you 3 to 4 times per week as we work to create a document that we can all be proud of. And I believe that we have done just that. So as has been acknowledged earlier, we are in the midst of unprecedented times. And as we fight through this global health pandemic and the resulting social and economic crises, we have been forced to adapt. So I'm speaking to you tonight via a virtual platform to assure the people that we serve that in adapting to this new normal, we still remain committed to providing the best service that we can. So the town budget documents have been published online for public inspection and comment. The council, as has been said, has received the budget in 3 distinct formats per request. And at this time, I will provide a brief overview of our proposed budget. So the fiscal year 21 budget seeks to address the harsh realities of the present while still making plans for our bright future. To begin, we have a strong foundation. This budget was indeed developed in adherence with sound financial practices. All revenues equal expenditures, complying with the legal requirement to have a balanced budget. Structural balance is also achieved, with one-time revenues being dedicated only in support of one-time expenditures. Unlike in the years past, no transfers from the unassigned fund balance were used to balance this budget. That's like our savings account. So the published document provides the council and the residents with a full picture of the town's finances, inclusive of debt service, fund balance, or how much money is in our bank account, as well as all capital transfers. So the proposed capital budget includes projects directly related to community feedback and is fully funded by grants and pay-as-you-go cash. That means there is no impact to our debt capacity. That is major for a town of this size. And we continue to make progress in our performance-based budgeting as well, as you will note that performance measures have been included for all key agencies. Proof positive of our adherence to the best practices, the town received the Distinguished Budget Presentation Award from the Government Financial Officers Association. This was the first time in town history that we received this award. The GFOA was established and created the Distinguished Budget Presentation Award program in 1984. It was designed to encourage and assist state and local governments in the preparation of their budget documents to ensure that they were of the very highest quality and that they reflected the guidelines established by the National Advisory Council on State and Local Budgeting, as well as GFOA's best practices on budgeting. And then they would recognize individual governments that succeed in achieving this goal. The documents submitted to the Budget Award Program are reviewed and selected by members of GFOA's professional staff, as well as outside reviewers from around the country that have experience with public sector budgeting. The application and review process is extremely thorough, and my staff and I are honored and humbled to have been recognized by the authority on the presentation of financial documents. In your presentation, you'll know the website for GFOA where you can see Dumfries with our first award listed there.
Excellent.
So let's talk about some best practices just for comparison purposes, because we've already covered that the authority on budget presentations has blessed us with the award. But I also think it may be helpful to offer some comparisons for comparable jurisdictions. So if we look at the town of Vienna and the town of Percival and the town of Herndon, I think that would give us a good area to start for comparison, particularly because they are also included in the Northern Virginia region. Also, like Dumfries, each of these communities are towns within larger counties. These three towns also are comparable whether in population or size. They also are each longtime Distinguished Budget Presentation Award recipients. Each of them have budgets that are organized in a similar fashion to the one that is before you tonight. So starting with Vienna, you can see an image of a similar format that's also aligned with best practices. Going to Percival, here we have a similar format aligned with best practices as well as an attractive cover art. Then if you look finally at the town of Herndon, you will note a similar format, also aligned with best practices and also inclusive of attractive cover art. So now that we've thoroughly covered format as well as best practices, and we can pat ourselves on the back for both of those items, let's get to the numbers. The total proposed general fund budget for fiscal year 21 is $5.6 million. This represents an increase of approximately $700,000 over fiscal year 2020. The largest contributing factor to this increase is the addition of the gaming tax revenue, which will be created by Rosie's Gaming Emporium. Local taxes such as gaming, meals, and sales tax represent over 40% of the town's general fund revenue, making it our largest revenue category. Now, while initial forecasting models predicted significant increases in all our local taxes, as well as in our real estate taxes, this budget reflects decreases in many local tax categories and flat funding in real estate tax categories due to the uncertain economic impact of this current global health pandemic. But the good news is, despite these economic uncertainties, I am proud to present a budget that continues to make investments in our strategic focus areas without raising taxes or fees for our residents. So times such as these remind us that the operation of government can't continue without our number one resource. So as we highlight our agency additions, over the past 12 months, I've engaged our workforce in numerous ways, and I've received feedback on areas that could be improved upon. And by far, the topic that came up the most was healthcare. So in response, this budget includes funding to support 100% employer-funded healthcare for all town employees. That is inclusive of single and family plans. This will result in an average savings of $500 per month for town employees currently on our family plan. This budget also includes funding to support a 2% cost of living adjustment for all town employees. Other enhancements in administration include an updated community partner grant program application that will be expanded to support public art. In public works, enhancements include increased funding to support our solid waste contract, as well as funding to support the hire of a building and code inspector. In stormwater, we propose investments in capital infrastructure, which I will talk about when we get to the capital improvement plan. For the town council, the travel and training line has been increased this year to support an orientation for council members in calendar year 2021. Our boards and commissions agency will see reduced funding for travel and training, as we have worked with staff to ascertain that conducting the training locally will help us to reduce those travel costs. In the debt service agency, you will note the municipal bond payment reflected, but that is simply an accounting measure, as it reflects that our property management contract, Trimark, pays the bond on the town's behalf for this building. Priorities in our economic vitality focus area seek to improve development activities. The Route 1 widening project is an essential component to our development efforts, as it will allow us to reclaim our Main Street, creating a greater sense of place and community along our primary thoroughfare. Last year, the town began our 5-year comprehensive plan update. And in conjunction, we began updating our local zoning ordinance, as well as completing a small area plan for Main Street. As these efforts conclude in the next few months, the fiscal year 2021 proposal supports investments to build upon these results. So enhancements for the Department of Community Planning and Community Development include additional funding for staff to enhance our plan review process, as well as for what we are calling the Destination Dumfries Initiative, which will require council approval, but will provide grants and low interest loans for small business owners to support facade improvements and other property enhancements. Our police department serves as the town's primary public safety agency. And in recent years, the town has faced challenges with recruitment and retention. The police department has not been fully staffed in many years. This budget proposes to increase the starting salary for police officers to $60,000, giving Dumfries one of the highest starting pay rates in the Northern Virginia region. We believe that this increase in starting pay, coupled with 100% employer-funded healthcare, will give us a recruitment package that will help us to attract the best and the brightest. Moving on to the capital improvement plan, this is one of the boldest CIP budgets in the town's recent history. Last year, staff and I worked diligently to ensure that all capital projects were clearly reflected in the capital improvement plan. Additionally, we corrected and provided the proper segregation of accounts to clearly detail available funding, if any, for all capital projects. So for fiscal year 21, I'm proposing a $73.7 million capital budget that is entirely funded by grants and pay-as-you-go cash, thus having no impact on the town's debt capacity. The most significant project in the capital budget is the Route 1 widening project, which we expect to be fully funded this fiscal year. The Route 1 widening project has been the town's top priority for the past few years. And with a total estimated project cost of nearly $130 million, being fully funded is a significant achievement for this town. This project is a game changer for Dumfries that will positively impact each of our strategic focus areas. Additional investments in the CIP include funding for property acquisition, feasibility studies for improvements, particularly in the Williamstown area. It also includes asset investments for our police station, as well as our town's vehicle fleet, and additional infrastructures such as neighborhood streetlights and stormwater ponds have been included as well. So to recap, it is my recommendation that council approve the FY21 budget with these enhancements, but with the understanding that implementation of these enhancements should be delayed until the second quarter of the fiscal year. This will allow us to have more information as we currently work through the COVID-19 pandemic so that we can see how revenues will come in and what additional impacts there may be. So just to recap and to provide a guidance for action, tonight we are scheduled to introduce the necessary ordinances to set the public hearing date for council's April 21st meeting. The vote on the budget is scheduled to occur at that time on April 21st. Citizens are encouraged to provide comments on the budget directly on our budget comment page on our website, or comments and questions can be emailed to pio@dumfriesva.gov. In closing, I simply like to reiterate that the fiscal year 21 plan was completed in adherence with sound financial practices. There is nothing hidden or nothing that needs to be exposed that is not. This fiscal plan addresses where we are currently, as well as provides a path for the place that we can be. And in times such as these, I can't help but to be reminded of the idealistic foundations of our government. And as me and my staff prepared this budget, we did so with the mindset that we should be like a town set upon a hill, for the eyes of the people are upon us. Thank you.
Thank you for that presentation. Questions I had, Are there any other towns doing 100% employer-funded healthcare? Do we know?
Mayor, I am writing down these questions because I want to make sure that I capture them all and I can send a complete list of the questions to council this week, but I am not aware of any other towns that are doing that. Just a little note on that. Many places are simply too large to be able to afford that, but I will check. And that's why I said I'm writing down all of the questions and comments tonight so that I can create a document to send to council so that you all have all my answers.
All right, Council.
I know back in 2018, I brought up to the council, pay for health care.
I'm sorry, I can't hear Councilman Brewer anymore. Is he still speaking? Can anyone else hear him?
Okay, go ahead.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, you can.
Are we ready now? I said, this was brought up once before, a few years ago. Treasurer told us there is no money in the budget for this kind of payout for fully funded healthcare. So now all of a sudden we have all this money. Well, that's one issue. Another issue is we've taken a vote in 2018, not only will the CIP be presented to the council, we also need to see CIP, capital improvement budget. The other thing I haven't seen, we have in reserve. What do we currently have in reserve under this budget? Anybody know?
$4.7 million.
How much?
$4.7 million is on page 18.
Page 18 of the budget. Pull up page 18. Pull it up on the screen for you.
So when did we add this money to be budgeted? How did we get the $4 million reserve?
I didn't hear the question. Can somebody repeat the question?
Question is, how do we get the $4.8 million in reserves?
So each year, in the last two budgets that I have presented, the fund balance has been included, which shows how that accumulates over time. The other document that details that is our comprehensive annual financial report. Andrew Grossnickel from our auditing firm was here in, I believe, January, and he provided an overview of the CAFR, and that's where that is shown. So the reserve is built by having revenues exceed expenditures at the end of the fiscal year.
It was in the audit report.
I couldn't understand a word anybody was saying.
It was in the audit report as well as presented to the council from the auditors when we came. Huh? No, the audit was for last budget year.
About this budget.
And it accumulates. Council Lady Mounts.
Yes, I actually had a question for Ms. Pandak. Ms. Pandak, I had a question about the budget. There's been some questions about the way the budget has been presented. From a legal perspective, is there any way that the Commonwealth of Virginia requires localities to present the budget? Is there anything legally that says that the budget must be presented in detailed line item? Is there any legal ramification for presenting the budget in the format that we have it, where departments present their entire budget as opposed to laying it out with the employee salary information and things of that nature?
Mr. Mayor, can everybody hear me?
Yes.
The short answer to your question, Madam Councilwoman, is no. There is no requirement for a specific format, with some exceptions, and I'll tell you about that. And there is no requirement, Virginia, for a line item budget. Budgets are presented in different ways around the Commonwealth, but the statutes themselves do not require a line item budget. The budget that the town manager has submitted to you tracks 15.22504 with the exception of one column, which I understand from speaking with him will be added once the budget is ready for approval and changes have been made as you go along to reflect that. And that is simply a column that shows the difference or increase or decrease in expenditures from the past year going forward. Otherwise, it comports with that. And as I said, there's no legal requirement that you have a line item budget.
So just a follow-up question. In terms of best practices, are you familiar with you've seen our budget. Have you seen our budget presented in other localities? Is this something that you are familiar with and that you would have any reservation with from a legal perspective?
I'm going to have to separate that into what I have expertise in and what I do not. I am not GFOA qualified. I am not a financial expert. So I cannot speak to that. In terms of budgets, I have seen many different types of budgets, and candidly, I respond to specific questions as a lawyer. I don't go around saying one budget looks better than another budget. And so I'm simply not qualified on that. You would have to ask a financial analyst. All I can tell you is whether or not it meets the legal constraints.
Okay, but there are no legal constraints to our budget then?
Well, I'm saying that the constraints that I understand under the statutes are met or will be met, as I understand from the town manager. That is that last column when you see the series of columns that compares last year's to this year's to going forward. The last column showing the difference will be added around the time of budget adoption for the final budget. And there is, to your specific question, there is no requirement for a line item budget in Virginia.
Thank you.
All right. The in our audit report, just want to tell you, I found the this is the one that we just got presented. 19. We had our capital assets $4,190,891. AJ. The 2019 audit, June 30. Yep. Yeah, ended June. Right. We haven't had an audit or financial report yet.
Mayor, if I may, sometimes because the CAFRs are accounting documents, they can be a little challenging to read. But the fund balance is included on page 17 of your budget document, and that seeks to just kind of cut through some of the accounting, so you can see the actual ending fund balance of $4.3 million. At the end of fiscal year 19, which was the most recent completed fiscal year.
All right. Any other questions for the town manager on the presentation to bring back? Yes. No other questions on the presentation. We'll go to we'll move on to the introduction. Councilman Brewer?
Yeah, I'm going to ask again that this budget be submitted to the town council in the 2019 format. So that if we're questioned by any type of law enforcement, we please know how to answer. I'll make that a formal motion.
Well, if any law enforcement or anybody is questioning us, we have town attorney, we have legal counsel for them to speak to that. But what's your motion, Councilman Brewer? Okay.
What I've made 14 other times that's yet been presented by the town manager. Really, when a council member requests something, it's presented to them. Why this is just being defied, I have no idea.
So you don't want us to adopt the budget in the format that is in?
You don't know what money's in there.
All
What
right.
are your salaries? What do you have for a sergeant? What do you have for the police chief? What do you have for a captain? What are their benefits?
All right, so the motion on the floor is to get rid of this budget and to have the budget presented in the FY19 format. Is that your motion?
No, I didn't say that. I
Okay.
said present the budget to the council in the F19 format. I didn't say anything about passing anything.
Okay, so just present it in the
Present it
FY19.
to the council in the 19 format.
So you don't want
I've
to,
asked numerous times.
motion by Councilman Brewer. Say a second.
I'd like to add on to what he said. We're not asking the town manager to start over the budget, asking so we can make an informed decision to show council. I'm not worried about how it's presented somewhere else to get them on the order or whatever. I really don't care. The thing that I'd like to see that I'm voting on, that I'm responsible for as a council person, is to see all the money, not sums, not grand totals. I'd like to see what each department head makes, what everything, buildings and grounds. I mean, all of it in each department, broken out. I mean, I don't understand why this is such. Anyway, I second the motion.
All right, any other discussion on the motion? Council Lady Miles.
Okay, so just so we can all be on the same sheet of music, the town manager did send out a spreadsheet on last Sunday, and it was in the 19 format. So in order to just like I said, just so we can all get on the same sheet of music, it sounds like what you're saying is you just want that broken down further. So from what he submitted, can we get like more detail on how much further you want that broken down so that when we meet again, we're on the same page? Because it seemed to me that it merits the 19 format. I know you want to see salaries. I know that we all want to be as transparent as possible. But my concern with transparency when we release the budget, we want to be as transparent as possible, but we also want to be as protective of our employees' personal information as possible. So when we talk about releasing salaries and things like that out to the general public, when we have the budget out there that's available to everyone, we want to be. I see that, but
Done since 2002.
I get that, but we also want to make sure that and I know that's FOIA-able. Anybody that wants that information can always FOIA that information as well. But we do want to make sure that we're not putting that. We want to be protective of our employees as possible. And something what was released to us, we might not necessarily want to have as accessible. If I go and I pull up the police chief of the town of Dumfries, we know who we're talking about. So are we saying we want to redo the budget?
Public knowledge.
Okay.
Everybody in town that pays taxes in this town should know where their tax dollars are going. In the format, when you lump sum something, everybody knows where it's going. When you lump sum projects together, you know where it's going.
So you want to include individual employee salaries broken down rather than.
I want every line item that is in the 2019 budget addressed in the 2019 format. It can't get any more clear. General fund revenue, Highway 2313, transfer from Urban Construction Initiative Fund, transfer from general funds. Go to another one. I mean, it has to be expenditures, information technology, travel, training, equipment repairs, telecommunications, maintenance costs, professional contracts. All of these police departments, night differential, overtime 86, DMV grants, supplements, line of duty act. All of this stuff needs to be broke out so the town council can make an informative decision based on the budget to either add money, take away from, or approve what's there. We can't do that under this kind of format.
Could he, sorry, being the town manager, Mr. Rogers, could he provide that in a supplement document, or do you want the budget read? No.
Are you going to advertise a supplement document? No. You've got to advertise. Why we're putting this date so soon? You have until June 30th to approve the budget. 2 consecutive weeks average for a budget. We've got until end of June to have approved the budget the last day of June before. You got to be meticulous when you go through these things. We've got to know exactly what's being spent. Do you really need that kind of money based on what you had last year left over? Taken away, moving here. That way we don't have any movement of money. And if there is any movement of money, it has to come to the town council first. Also, another problem I've got is with their organization chart. I don't agree with that organization chart at all. Because under state law, you're supposed to have the clerk, treasurer, the attorney, the town manager, and if you'd like, police chief, all under the umbrella of the town council. You don't have that. You got one person that approves the town council under his organization. That needs to be changed. There's several things in there. So that document needs to be presented so the town council can discuss each line item and either fund it, add money to it, take money away from it, or get rid of it. That's our responsibility. It is his responsibility to present us a budget. It's ours to go through it. And in order for us to go through it in an intelligent manner, we have to have it in a format that we
Councilwoman DeVille.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I was hoping to have been able to have time before a motion was thrown on the floor, but I did want to suggest 2 things that I would like to see in the budget. And I'll just put them out there, and I'm pretty sure the town manager can figure everything out once we finish this meeting. But I just
Is it pertinent to the motion that's on the floor?
Well, from the way I'm seeing the agenda, it looks like if this motion passes, it kind of limits the conversation about the budget. And I'd like to suggest some items for the budget. You let me know. I mean, or Ms. Pandak, can I suggest 2 things I wanted to suggest? Because if the motion goes forward, I can't suggest it.
There's a motion and then there's a second. Councilman Brewer made a motion to have the budget presented by the town manager in an FY19 format. It was seconded by Council Lady Willis.
So if the motion fails, then I can come back and.
Yes.
Okay, I hope it fails.
All right. So, Council Lady Willis.
Inadvertently turned my.
Oh, mic on. Okay. All right. So, seeing no more discussion, was there any? I didn't see if the vice mayor had her hand up. No. Okay. All right. So, seeing no more discussion on this motion, the motion on the floor is to have the town manager to present the budget to the town council in an FY19 format. Motion by Councilman Brewer, second by Council Lady Willis. All right, Council Lady Neville.
No.
Councilman Pills. Council Lady Willis.
Yes.
Councilwoman Miles.
No.
Councilman Brewer.
You know, since I don't know what's changed because this vote has already been taken by the town council or any injury or whatever. It's already voted on. It's already passed.
What?
I don't know why we're sitting here being redundant and doing it again. But it is yet to be presented to us.
So is that a yes vote or a no vote?
I vote yes, just like I did the first time.
Vice Mayor Nicholson?
Absolutely not.
No. Motion fails 2-5. All right, Council Lady Neville, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Okay, so I wanted to suggest two things. One of them was that the town donate $1,000 to the Friends of the Dumfries Slave Cemetery. We contribute a lot towards the history of the town. We give a lot to Historic Dumfries. We have a slave cemetery and a nonprofit that's dedicated to the upkeep of that slave cemetery. And I think it's proper for us to donate a mere $1,000 to that organization to assist them with the upkeep of a slave cemetery that is in the town proper. So that was the first suggestion. The other is I'd like to see some vegetation planted at Ginn Park and Garrison, probably easier at Garrison because it should be something that naturally grows in this area. But thinking of things like dead nettle, edible violets, a variety of berries, just to have edible. Can you all hear me? I'm hearing myself like an echo, but edible vegetation.
Got you.
Can you hear me? Okay, so $1,000 towards planting edible vegetation at Garrison and Ginn Park that would naturally grow in these areas that wouldn't require a lot of extra upkeep. And I'm thinking Garrison would probably be best just because of the access to water, but having edible vegetation. So what I'm proposing, those items combined is $2,000. But I also had a question about Destination Dumfries because the motion was placed so quickly. I didn't have time to ask. I'd like to have further information about Destination Dumfries and be able to ask some questions about that $75,000 line item. And I'd like to also suggest that those of us who have passionate questions about the budget, I'd really like to ask that everyone meet with the town manager, but if they could provide him in an email line items about these items that are in question from budgets from years past, that would provide him better direction to address those questions. And if it was hypothetically something from FY16 that is allegedly missing from this budget, which things change because departments have changed. I used to manage a department that no longer exists. So you're not going to see it the way it was back in FY14. But if there's a question about a past fiscal year and a particular line item, if you don't want to have conversations for whatever reason, please email the town manager that specific line item so he can at least address the questions you all have about the budget. And I would like for us as, highly intelligent 7 leaders of the town to watch our tone and not say anything in tones that can be harmful to others, especially during this time when we're trying to communicate. I think we all can communicate as professional adults, and I'd like to see that. So I kind of went off on a little tangent, Mayor, but $1,000 for the Friends of Dumfries Slave Cemetery. They're a nonprofit. They've been doing the upkeep of that slave cemetery since the research was found on the cemetery. I want to say that was in 2011, but I have documents, I can send those. And $1,000 to plant edible vegetation in our parks. And if that ends up just being Garrison due to the access to water, I'm actually fine with that. And I can help the town manager have other information on that, what type of vegetation that should be. But I would love to learn more about Destination Dumfries before we move forward. Thank you.
Manager.
Thank you, Councilwoman and Mayor. So I wrote down the changes that you would like to see reflected in the budget. In regards to Destination Dumfries, that was designed to be a small, a loan or grant program for small businesses for facade improvements and other property enhancements. What I would say about that program is that it has not been put together fully yet. It will require an ordinance, meaning it will require additional input and additional approval from the council. So I'm happy to meet with you and discuss details and things that you may like to see or not see. But it was designed as a response for our local small businesses or potentially new small businesses as we go about updating our comprehensive plan. So that people can make the type of enhancements that we will be saying that we want to see updated in our comprehensive plan.
Okay, so with that line item, and there's $75,000 in that line item, would anything be done to secure grant funding? Like, I'm just off the top of my head, Main Street funding, to increase that line item, or would the money already in that line item be going towards matching funds for grants to create this program for business owners? And is there a maximum limit to how much money a business could, secure from the town to maintain their own space? And could this possibly be some kind of low interest or no interest loan instead of us just giving out $75,000? Those are my immediate questions. Otherwise, Mr. Town Manager, you make yourself accessible, and I am very available and welcome a conversation to discuss further. But right now, those are the only questions I have. Thank you.
Thank you. And I will also, when we have that future discussion, I will also bring in Mr. William Capers, our Director of Planning and Community Development as well.
All right, I just want to read the narrative that you have prepared for Destination Dumfries that was presented. It says, the Destination Dumfries Initiative funding to support implementation of a grant microloan for small business for enhancements such as facade improvements. Yeah, so that's pretty generic. Okay. Vice Mayor Nickerson.
Hi, thank you. I like Councilwoman Neville's ideas about what that 75,000 should look like as far as the loans are concerned. I do agree that while it is important that we allow our budget to contribute to the beautification by the residents and the businesses, I also think that, a loan, even if it's a very small interest or no interest at all, would be more appropriate than just an outright handout, because there are businesses are for profit, and we have lots of nonprofit businesses in the town that we are not just arbitrarily giving that large sum of money to. So I do think it's important that we consider repayment options for that money. But as you said, as you work through the details of that and share it with the council, I look forward to that. One thing that I was looking for in the budget that I did not notice was, I know that in previous years we've had interns. Do we have money set aside for intern salaries for this upcoming summer or summers, to have interns come back? And if so, how many is that? Has that been figured out yet?
So due to the current global health pandemic and the time frame for which the governor's latest order kind of asks us to make sure that we stay at home as much as possible, we have not developed that as of yet. However, an intern for the summer, if it was this summer, that would be included in this fiscal year. So if we are able to accommodate that and we are able to get through this quickly in this health pandemic in time to allow for that, I will bring back details to the council, but that will be within fiscal year 20. So not something that we would need to have reflected in fiscal year 21 budget at this time.
Okay, so there's no need for a placeholder for it then, because it's something that would continue year after year?
Well, that's certainly possible and would be appropriate. But I think based off of the time that we're in now, it may be good to evaluate this year. I can bring a full program to the council this year, and we can make sure that we make those accommodations going forward.
Thank you. Please do. I think that now is the opportunity for us to figure out what that's going to look like so that when the summers are opened back up next year, God willing, that we have a program in place and we aren't scrambling at that point to try and put something together. So I think it would be a good use of this year's time to plan for that and start putting that together.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I apologize for interjecting, but if the council does not need me further, I know you have your new town attorney there, Mr. McConnell, and I will depart unless I am needed.
Can I chime in on that, please? Are we going into closed session for personnel matters?
Oops, I'm on mute. Am I mute? Unmuted. No,
Okay.
that's not on the agenda.
Okay, because I was going to say if we were going into closed session, I would prefer to have Sharon hang around for that. But if we are not going into closed session, thank you, Sharon, for your time this evening.
Thank you all. Mr. Town Manager, is that acceptable as well for me to depart?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you all. Have a good evening and stay healthy.
Council Lady Neville.
I was trying to say no. I'd like to go ahead and make a motion before she actually leaves. I'd like to make a motion that we approve, or do we need a motion for the fiscal year, the presentation, or just in the introduction items?
It's just introduction, but we're setting public hearing dates to get public feedback, and then
Okay.
We'll determine at a future date if we're going to either adopt it or make further changes or get all questions answered. But there's still time for council to give feedback on the budget. It's time for the public to give feedback on the budget. Today we're just scheduling public input, so the public has an opportunity to weigh in, as well as on the website as well. Okay.
Thank you.
Council Lady Willis.
I've got two questions, Mr. Rogers. On your highlights by agency on page 12 of your overview, when you were presenting, I could not hear anything echoing through here, and I literally didn't hear much of anything. The page, though, for capital improvement plan, probably explained it, but I did not hear it.
I just want to make sure I heard your question. You said what is pay-as-you-go funds for the capital improvement plan?
Does pay go cash?
Yes, ma'am. You said what is that?
Yes.
The pay-as-you-go cash is listed as a transfer from the general fund. You will see one of those on the page for administration. You will also see one included in the stormwater agency. Those are transfers from the general fund to the capital fund to support the necessary projects. And then within the capital improvement plan, you will see for each project has its own page, and you will see the funding sources listed on each project page. So for example, project A funded by pay-as-you-go transfer, project B, stormwater, pay-as-you-go transfer.
I saw that when I looked at the budget. One more question. We, at one point in time, had Berkeley Heights project, CIP.
Yes, ma'am.
What happened to it?
That project, I believe, was at least around in 2019. During the fiscal year 2019, the council did not maintain a capital improvement budget. I know the document said that you did, but it didn't exist. There was no account. So therefore, all the funds that were appropriated in 2019 that were not spent rolled to the unassigned fund balance, which is on page 17 of the budget document.
So are you saying that the CIP went away and everything went back into the general fund?
No, there was, turn your mic off. Yeah, there was, when the auditor came, we didn't have a proper capital improvement budget. Monies was intermingled into the general fund, is what he was saying. Right. But we found out when we got the audit, 2018 audit, there was still no capital improvement budget, even though
we had voted on it, still did not come into fruition.
I treasure at the time.
Again. Is there a way then, if that's the case, and we hide this project back into the budget? Because as I understand, it's a shared item with VDOT.
Right. So the staff and I have been working because none of the capital projects had a proper segregation of accounts. So it would have been any project that was not completed. So we've been working to see what the process is to see if we could move forward with those projects despite not having the money actually put where it belongs. So we are still working on those options, and I can provide you with a report on what those options may be by the next council meeting.
So they can't be put back in the proposed CIP?
What I said was I would look into it because, as you mentioned, it is my understanding that there were shared funding or additional funding sources. So I want to make sure that we work with the state in this question, which would be where the other money was coming from, to see what the options would be. And then I can bring that answer back to the council by the time we have our next council meeting.
Great. Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, was there any additional comments on the current budget presentation? Councilman Fields. Talk loud so they can.
Yeah, I think the presentation from Mr. Rogers here, I think, was an excellent presentation. We're talking about things that may be that they want to see in 2019. Here as we're going into 2000. Yes, we may have voted on it to have a presentation done, but what Mr. Rogers has 3 different times, I think it's very clear that everything is where it is supposed to be with our budget. We just received an award for having an outstanding budget. Just went through audit, and there were no flaws. When insinuate that there may be something wrong with the budget, I think is inappropriate to have our citizens think that anything is going wrong. It only comes during this time. So the presentation that was given by me, I think was very excellent. Turn the mic on. Very excellent. And it clearly showed 3 different occasions that what's supposed to be there is not hidden. There are mistakes, and town is looking to paint this grim picture on the town that we're not doing what we're supposed to do. I think it's a disservice to us as a council. Try to do the right thing, or do the right thing.
Councilor Willis.
I appreciate your comments, Mr. Fields. One of the things that I would love to give the citizens is transparency and clarity in a budget, as well as myself. Because if I'm going to vote for something, I'd like to see all the aspects of it. I'm not saying anybody did anything wrong. I'm not saying that anything was done incorrectly. I'm not saying anything like that. I just think that we as a council should use this opportunity to show everybody the budget. I mean, every aspect of the budget, especially the citizens, and that's who we answer to.
All right. And no more discussion on the budget presentation. We're looking for moving to our introductory items, which is a ordinance to appropriate the funds for fiscal year 21 by having a public hearing on April the 21st. Okay, it's been motioned. There's second on the motion.
A.
Yeah, A. Introductory item A. All right, so there's a motion for the public hearing. Is there a second? All right, seeing no second, we will have what you have to say about it.
I'm sorry, I do second it.
Okay. All right, second. So the ordinance to schedule the public hearing to appropriate funds for FY21 is scheduled for April 21st. That's the motion. Yeah, Vice Mayor seconded. So now we have discussion. Yeah. Okay. Then in discussion.
And just to clarify, that's just advertising, just to advertise for public hearing. We still have time as a council to go back and forth on where we might want to move funds around and things like that, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
The public hearing gives opportunity to get a public hearing. Council does not have to adopt the budget until June 30th.
Could we roll all three of these up into one motion, or do they all have to go? Do they all have to be done separately?
Yeah, it's possible if you want to submit it and adopt all three at the same time. It's the same public hearing date.
I will amend my motion. A is to approve funds FY20 budget public hearing. B, what is to adopt fee schedule public hearing date first. C, resolution adopt FY21. 5, capital plan public hearing date April 24th. I'm in the motion.
Vice Mayor, do you accept his amendment?
I can't hear anything but the echo. I'm sorry, I don't even know what he said.
Okay, he took A, B, and C and made it as three motions into one for the April 21st public hearing date.
Okay, let me look at that, A, B, and C. Oh, okay. Yes, I accept that friendly amendment.
Okay.
But I second it.
Yeah, I have it. And so you don't have to actually approve the budget. We can go back and forth on this budget until June what?
June 30th.
June 30. Okay.
Councilor Willis.
If that's the case, why are we doing public hearings until we finalize our discussion with the budget? I mean, if we're still going back and forth with the budget on certain things like, Mr. Rogers is going to present to council what I had asked about. Why are we zipping through to the public hearing if we've got till the 30th of June?
Giving the public the opportunity to weigh in and what do they want to see. And advertising the tax rate as well and the fee schedules.
Thank you.
All right, there's a motion on the floor to schedule public hearings for April 21st for the ordinance to appropriate FY21 funds, ordinance to adopt the fee schedule, and a resolution to adopt fiscal year FY21-25 capital improvement plan, all for April 21st. It's been motioned by Councilman Brewer, second by the Vice Mayor. Fields, I'm sorry, Councilman Fields made the motion, second by Vice Mayor. Just trying to make sure I get it all right. Sorry. Over there and didn't see him. Let's do it. All right, seeing no further discussion, call for the question. Council Lady Neville?
Yes.
Council Lady Miles? Council Lady Willis?
No.
Councilman Fields?
Yes.
And Vice Mayor?
Yes.
Okay. Myself, yes. Motion carries 5-1. 5-1. All right. Our next meeting will be a virtual meeting, and that will be the April 21st Town Council meeting. Seeing nothing else on the agenda, this meeting is now adjourned.